Confidence is not a skill. Confidence is a byproduct. And if we understand what actually manufactures confidence and focus on that, then you can be as confident as you want to be. See, a lot of people think that confidence is, shoulders back, broad chest, project my voice, having a presence. Anybody can go online and find some stupid influencer who's giving you some hack on how to be confident or how to improve your confidence so that you can make more money or attract the dream girl or whatever. The reality is confidence starts within. Okay, I want you guys to get this. Confidence starts within. So if you want confidence, focus on the inner life. Now today I'm going to give you guys I call it the 3 A's of confidence. And when you have all 3 of these A's in place, confidence just naturally comes. Now, I have found that over the years, I have been a relatively confident person. There's definitely been seasons, though, where I have lacked confidence, really been insecure, really struggled within myself. And I found that these 3 A's were absent when I was in those seasons where I lacked confidence, and they were unbelievably present in the seasons where I was really strong and really confident within. So we're going to talk all about that today, about what this whole confidence thing really looks like. Now, one thing that I'm going to do with you guys, and I don't always do this, but I have sort of a case study story that I'm going to use as we go through this framework. And I'm actually picking on somebody that some of you guys will know, and that's our head coach, Sean. Okay, Sean has this unbelievable story of how he has become this really confident coach. He's soaring, thriving in all kinds of areas of his life. He just moved his family overseas. They just had their second child. He takes good care of his body. He's a very established coach. He's triple certified, and he's been doing this for so long. There's a lot to Sean and his life that is very admirable and really inspiring. But it wasn't always this way, and his trajectory is such a good example of this framework that I'm going to give you guys. So you might be lacking confidence, okay? And that might mean different things for you. Maybe it means that you can't look people in the eyes. Maybe it means you're not getting the opportunities you want. Maybe it means that you're stuck being single and you can't seem to find a woman. Or maybe that you're in a marriage but you're not convinced that your wife really loves you or that you're good enough for your wife. Maybe a lack of confidence means that when you want to say something, you don't say it because you're afraid of what people are going to think. Maybe a lack of confidence just means that you don't know why you're here and you don't know why you belong, and there's a lot of questions surrounding your existence. It could be the whole gamut. In Sean's case, Sean grew up in a home with a lot of passivity and a lot of fear. So because of that, he never had a voice and he felt awkward in his own skin. I'm sure some of you guys can relate to what it's like to feel that way. Now, it's funny, when I was asking Sean a bit more about his story, one of the words that he used very often was unwanted. He often felt unwanted. And this is like some of the most groundbreaking research that's been done in pornography addiction the last couple of years has all been around this term. The idea is that when a guy feels unwanted, he engages in unwanted behaviors. So he feels unwanted, he's not good enough, he's not desirable, so he watches pornography, the unwanted behavior, to compensate. That kind of idea. When you are unwanted, you are unconfident because you don't believe that there's anything of value. The world is not affirming who you are, and that's actually one of our A's. I won't get too far ahead of myself. But Sean got trapped in addiction because of it, and he ultimately hit a rock bottom point, something that I'm sure you guys can all relate with. And Sean knew that he needed to quit pornography. The same way that you guys know you need to quit pornography. Sean knew he needed to get his life in order, the same way that you guys need to get your life in order. And when he was sort of vision casting who he could be if he quit pornography, the one thing he noticed is he was confident, right? So he was like, yeah, I'm doing these things. I'm going to start a business and I'm going to marry the woman of my dreams and I'm going to be a rock star dad and I'm going to plug into my community and I'm going to be a musician. But the one thing he observed is, in all of these different arenas, I'm confident. I wouldn't be able to do all these things unless I was confident. And so this is really one of those hinging pieces. If we can get this thing figured out, this in many ways gives rise to us living that healthy, thriving, liberated life on the other side of porn addiction. So the ultimate word when it comes to building confidence as a man is standards. You have to know your standards. What are the standards that you're setting? And there's 3 different arenas, and these are the 3 A's that we're going to get into, okay? The first A is alignment. All right, these are personal standards. So alignment is very important. You have to know what's right and what's wrong. You have to know what you stand for and what you stand against. You have to know what is true to you and what is not true to you. And you have to ensure that in your thoughts, in your words, and in your actions, that you are aligned with those things. You know, we get the best clients in the world. Seriously, the guys that we work with and the level of caliber they are blows me away. And not just in their careers where they're very, productive and high achieving and high performing, but the integrity that exists in our community is unbelievable. I'm sure you guys have seen that. That's because there's an understanding at least of what is right and wrong. And there's this awareness that what I'm doing in my life is misaligned. They're not fluid or flush. And because they're not fluid or flush, it is hard to feel confident within it. It's hard to feel good about yourself when you know that you're not really doing the thing that you should be doing. And you can hide and suppress and numb and kind of justify it, but it's always going to be there. So you have to know your standards. You have to know what you stand for. There's no standards without taking a stand. And then to actually live by those, and not just in your decisions, but even in your voice. Okay, this is something that even I'm working on in this kind of arena, is sometimes people say things that I disagree with, or they say things that I know are kind of wrong, and I don't always speak up. I think maybe it's the Canadian in me, I have no idea, but I don't always assert myself and have that voice. And what it actually does is it makes me more tolerant to things that go against what I stand for. And that's a problem. So alignment is a really big deal. And this is about your personal standards. So let me ask you, what are some of the personal standards that you're not abiding by? What are the things that you say I'm going to do, but you don't actually do them? What are the things that you've set out to do and you started to do, but you didn't follow through on them? What are the things that you know are wrong in your life, but you continue to do them anyway? Right? This is where the pornography addiction comes into play. This is where the other compulsive behaviors come into play, whether it's addictions or Netflix binging or a bad relationship with food. Where is there a misalignment where maybe we're not even talking about something moral or ethical? We just know it's healthy. We know we should be doing this, but we're not. This is the starting point where your confidence will break down, when you have that misalignment. So what are those areas for you? Okay, just start to develop that awareness. Now, I want to just take one more moment and really talk about the importance of something I just mentioned a minute ago. And that is your yes being yes and your no being no. Okay, this is a biblical concept. This is something Jesus instructed us to do. He said, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. And this is true for big things and for small things. No family was perfect, and my parents were no exception. My family was no exception. But the one thing I can say that my parents were actually pretty good at is if they said they were going to do something for me, they followed through on it. And that has given me a lot of confidence in their word and in their relationship. And see, if people aren't confident in you, then you won't be confident in yourself. So it's very important that you let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you say you're going to do that diet, you better stick to it. If you say you're going to go start that business, go start that business. If you say you're going to quit pornography and you're going to rid yourself of devices and have more liberation in your life, then quit pornography, get rid of devices, and make liberation your priority in this season. This is so important. And if you compromise, you might compromise on a little promise you made because it doesn't affect anyone else, right? It only affects you. No, that's not true at all. Because it affects you, it's going to affect all the people around you. If you're not confident, then what do you have to give to your other relationships? So this is a really big deal. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Okay? Now, I mentioned the story of Sean, right? Our head coach. So when Sean was living without alignment, he learned to gain acceptance through doing well in sports, music, and video games. So he found acceptance in other places. He became a people pleaser, developed a lot of nice guy syndrome. He was burning with anger, but he didn't have a voice. He didn't know how to express himself. He was constantly blaming, judging, playing the victim. And he made a lot of promises to himself that he was going to, quit pornography or take better care of himself or whatever. But ultimately, he was just trying to distract himself from the pain, and it nearly destroyed him. So this is what happens when we don't live with alignment. Our second A is affirmation. So alignment is personal standards. Affirmation is the standards of others, okay? And I have resisted this truth for so long. You have no idea. It's taken me a long time to admit that I do actually need the affirmation of others to some extent. Now, this is where it gets confusing, right? Because we don't want to be people pleasers. We don't want to just, try to live by everybody else's standards for us. That's not really what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking about something a little bit more refined than that. I'm talking about affirmation from people whose opinion we value. Now, let me give you some examples, okay? Celebrities. Okay, this is crazy. The amount of value we put on celebrities today, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I always find when I'm meeting somebody really important, I got a chance to meet Jordan Peterson about a year ago, and I remember like the clammy hands and the sweaty palms, and he's just an ordinary dude. Why am I being so weird about it? But he's somebody that I respect and I admire. And ultimately, I cared about his opinion of me. I wanted to make a good first impression. Now, I don't think we should be living that way all the time. I think this is a dynamic that's kind of inevitable in our society, but it kind of demonstrates that we do care about what other people think. Let me give you some better examples, okay? An authority figure, so a boss, a parent, a coach, a mentor, a teacher, or admirable peers. So people that are maybe more your age, they're more lateral relationships, but they're people that you really respect, you really value them, and you value their opinion. It's important for you to understand, though, that when it comes to affirmation, I've left out something. So we want to get affirmation from people whose opinion we value, but it actually is more specific than that. We want to get affirmation from people who have what we want. Okay? So if somebody's giving you, I don't know, maybe career advice. They're really critical about your career decisions, and they don't understand why you're doing this and whatever. And they have a career path that you don't really respect, you don't want to replicate in your own life. That advice can go out of your head as quickly as it came in. It's literally a waste of your time. What we want to do is we want to get really lasered in on the standards of others who have the things that we want, whether that's financially, spiritually, maritally, in your relationships, or psychologically, or maybe there's some other arena. We want to make sure that the standards of others are something we're paying attention to, but appropriately. But I will tell you, because of the way God has designed us, we're social creatures, we naturally have this desire. This is unbelievably powerful. When you live aligned, our first A, so the way that you make decisions 95% of the time is aligned with what you know to be true and what you believe. And when you have people in your life that are affirming those decisions because they have that alignment as well, and they are after the same things you're after, and they're saying, man, good for you. I was doing that when I was your age, and look where it got me, or I wish I was doing that when I was your age because it would have got me here way faster. When those are the people who are saying, yeah, you should be doing this, that is like gasoline on a bonfire. I've experienced this even lately. I've made a bunch of changes in my business, in our media profiles. I'm sure you guys have noticed things have gone a lot better. This has been a huge shift. And there's been times where while we were making these changes, I've been questioning, like, was this the right thing to do? Things were easier and simpler the way I was doing them before. Granted, maybe the quality was a bit lower, whatever. But I've kind of had that question in the back of my head. And I have had some people to bounce off of and to say, hey, does this make sense? But truthfully, the people that have actually impacted me the most have been people online, business influencers and podcasters that I respect, talking about their own struggles, talking about going through changes, talking about, hey, if your business is this size, here are the things you should be thinking about and worrying about. And honestly, when I hear those, I just go, oh, thank God. Okay, I'm right where I need to be. Great example of affirmation, right? I'm living aligned. I'm doing what I'm pretty sure is right. Now I'm getting affirmation piled on there to give me the assurance, to give me the confidence that I am doing the right things and that I can continue in the right direction. So this is why celebrities are an example of this, but they're a bad example. We want to kind of ditch that. We'd rather go to people that we know, people that we have a relationship with, and if you don't have that, then it's fine. It's okay to look at people online, but make sure they actually have what you want. Make sure they're doing the things you want to do. You guys get the idea. Okay, so let's go back to our case study, right? We're talking about Coach Sean. So when Sean was addicted to pornography, he's not living in alignment, and he lived with very little affirmation. So I actually mentioned this earlier, but Sean did not get a lot of encouragement from his parents at the things he was good at. And he was actually very talented and very skilled, but he never got affirmed, and he didn't have people around him telling him, hey, you're good at that. You should do more of it, or I love it when you do this, that's so impressive. He didn't have that encouragement. And because of that, he had a very loud inner critic. I think some of you guys are probably very familiar with having that loud inner critic that says, you're not good enough, you're XYZ, labeling you and telling you how you could have done things better. That inner critic was so loud that Sean basically couldn't do anything well, even though he was talented. He was always afraid. It was very fear-driven, and he was afraid he wasn't going to do something well. He was going to disappoint someone. He was going to come short. He was going to get criticized and ridiculed as a result. All right? Now, this is, again, very, very common when we don't get affirmation, or we get affirmation from people who don't know what the heck they're talking about. And you would be amazed at how many people do this. I interviewed a guy for my podcast one time, and he's very respected. He's got a very, very popular book. You would know his name if I mentioned it. He was on his third marriage. And in the interview, he started giving marriage advice. And I had to just think to myself, even though what he's saying is good and it makes sense, I'm not really going to think much about this because he's on his third marriage. And I would rather get advice from somebody who's still on their first. It's not a criticism, but it's just, if he has something that I don't want, why would I take his advice? It just doesn't make any sense. So we want to make sure we're being really selective. We're really kind of tuning our receiver to make sure we're listening to the right sources and getting affirmation from the right place. Okay, our first A was alignment, right? That was all about personal standards. Our second A was affirmation. That's all about the standards of others. And our third is accomplishment. And this is really about long-term accomplishment. Now, the reality is having accomplishments in your life makes you more confident. I'll use one that's not like a trophy accomplishment example. Let's say that you move to Costa Rica. All right, you uproot yourself, you move to Costa Rica, and you are going to learn Spanish. You go to like a very rural area in Costa Rica where they don't speak a lot of English, so you have to learn Spanish. Well, if you try to learn Spanish and the first day it's really tough, there's not really much of an accomplishment there. You're not going to feel very confident speaking Spanish, right? And then the next day, or the next time you meet with, let's say you have a tutor. So the next time you meet your tutor, it's a little bit better. So there's a couple words that they say, hey, that was perfect. You're doing better. Well, when you have to say those words, maybe they're just yes, no, please and thank you, probably just the basics. You're going to feel a little bit more confident because you have some indicator that you've made an accomplishment, that you've accomplished something. You're saying these words correctly. And again, I guess you could say you got a little bit of affirmation there as well, our second A. Now, if we fast forward maybe 3 years, and now you have learned how to speak Spanish, and you're speaking, very conversationally, not quite fluent, but you're really, really close, all right? And let's say that your time in Costa Rica comes to an end, and God calls you to Portugal, okay? So Portugal, they speak Portuguese, similar to Spanish, not quite the same. How confident do you think you're going to be learning Portuguese? Probably pretty confident because you've already done this before. You proved to yourself that you could learn a language. So that accomplishment gives us confidence going into new situations, all right? And this is the beauty of accomplishment. This is not about looking ahead. A lot of people feel unconfident because they look ahead and they see the things they haven't accomplished. The way that you garner confidence is looking back at what you have done. And the more that you reflect and look at what you have done, the more confidence you are going to exude in your day-to-day life. It's amazing, and I do this myself. I get so focused on my goals and where I'm going, and I'm so conscious of the gap, and it drives me crazy, and it frustrates me, and I need to grow, and I need to get better, and I need to build. Sometimes I forget to just reflect and just say, yeah, we're going here, and we're going to get there, but look at how far we've come. Look at where I was. Sometimes I forget that, 3 years ago, for me, I was working in a 9-to-5. I couldn't provide for my family. I was miserable. I was, kind of withering away. And here I am, just a few years later, and we have a great coaching practice, and we have a full team now, and we've been able to grow our influence online and work with incredible people like you guys. That's just a few short years, and sometimes I lose sight of that, and I get so hung up on what I haven't done, and it kills my confidence. So the confidence that I need today in this moment, and the confidence that you need today in this moment, is by reflecting on past accomplishments. And this is why you guys doing the inner child work, working through limiting beliefs, addressing traumas, addressing wounds of the past, really working through that forgiveness process, all of those things are vital. They're necessary and incredibly important, not just for you growing and becoming better, but actually for you becoming confident. And when you become confident, that's when you can step into that dream life that we're all about. Now, I'll make a couple other small notes here, okay? A couple little confidence boosters. Don't tell the world your big dreams and think that will improve your confidence. It will do the opposite, okay? This ties into the let your yes be yes and your no be no. I still remember, this is when I was an intern in ministry school, and there were 4 guys, we were all interns together living in a room, and 3 of us were all very active. We used to run 5Ks and we played sports. And the 4th guy was athletic, but he wasn't as active. He had a blue-collar job, so he was really good with his hands and that kind of thing. But he didn't play a lot of organized sports. He wasn't a workout guy and whatever. So it's the first week, we're all getting to know each other, and we say, hey, let's go for a run. So he tags along because he doesn't want to feel left out. And we kind of know it, so we go a little bit slower, and we have a great run, and it's really fun and whatever. And there's this thing called runner's high. So runner's high is this euphoria that hits your body after you do a run. You just feel so good, and it feels amazing, and it makes you want to do it more and more. So this guy gets hit with runner's high, and he is so over the moon that not only was he able to keep up with us, and he did this run, and it felt so good, but now he starts talking about, I'm going to do this every day. For the next, that internship was about a year long. He's like, for the next year, I'm going to run 5K 5 times a week. And we were all just like, cool, man. That sounds awesome. But we all kind of knew at the same time, dude, this is it's runner's high. You're just talking to hear the moment. Are you actually going to follow through on that? Now, what I would have loved to see him do is I wish he would have just been quiet about what he wanted to do and gradually improved his running, and maybe done it once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week. But because he made this big outlandish promise publicly, he thought he had to keep up with it. And sure enough, after week 2, his knees start to hurt. He actually hates running. He's not getting the same runner's high, and he quit. And we've all done this before. But if there's one piece of advice I could give you when it comes to accomplishment, when you have big goals and big dreams, it's okay to tell people that maybe you really trust, but don't tell the world. Be very selective who you talk about it, and quietly go about your business. Now, the other thing I want to highlight is looking back is where all this happens, right? And you guys have come so far. I want you to think about how far you've come in your recovery journey already. Think about all the ups, all the downs, but specifically what you've had to accomplish just to get to this moment, this point in time. It's pretty impressive actually what you've done. And when we can learn to look back and reflect and build a sense of accomplishment, it really solidifies the confidence we have going into the next thing. Because I look back and I say, wow, if I did this in X amount of time, what could I do going ahead? Like, if this is possible for me now, what could be possible for me in the future? Again, this is where it's like, I don't need to try to tell myself to have a broad chest and stand confident. I just naturally do it when I'm reflective and conscious of the places I've been and how far I've come. And what this does is it celebrates the small wins, it celebrates the progress, and it encourages more progress. A lot of the reasons guys get tripped up in recovery is they're not making it as fast as they want. They see so-and-so's doing X, Y, Z, why am I not doing that? They start to look to the left and the right, they start to look ahead, instead of looking back and saying, wow, look at how far I've come. If I've come this far, man, I can go wherever I want. And it keeps you fueled for the journey. So we have alignment, we have affirmation, and we have accomplishment. And the interesting thing is when we talk about accomplishment, even talking about Sean, Sean actually had tons of accomplishments that he couldn't see. So he couldn't see how talented he was. He couldn't see how gifted he was. He was a great athlete. He was a great drummer, but he never felt like he was good enough because he never took time to acknowledge his accomplishments of the past and start to cast some vision for the future and what could be. He just had this vision for the future and he felt like he wasn't good enough. That was the end of the story. He didn't have this kind of framework or understanding of where he's come from and seeing that, letting it fuel where he's going to go and how much more that he's going to accomplish. And this is something that a lot of guys struggle with, especially if you're a high performer. You know, you accomplish your goal and it's on to the next. Instead of taking time to celebrate, and while you're accomplishing your next goal, reflecting every once in a while, looking back and seeing how far you've come, very, very important, goes a long way. So that's the basic framework. If you guys can align in your conduct, in your intents, in your thoughts, in your words, if that can start to align, that alignment is going to start your confidence journey. If you seek affirmation from the people whose opinions matter to you because they have what you want, that is going to fuel your confidence. And it's going to propel you to accomplish things. And when you make accomplishments, you will grow in your confidence. One of the secrets to this is being conscious of accomplishments of the past. It's not about future accomplishments. There's no confidence there. It's when I look back, that is where confidence truly lies. And if I can regularly look back, remind myself of how far I've come, I'm going to be fueled with confidence to continue and to step into those things that I'm after. Now, I want to give you guys 3 confidence accelerators, okay? If you do these things, I can guarantee you they will expedite the process. And let's not forget, when you are confident, you're going to get more opportunity in life. You're going to have better relationships. Day to day, you're just going to feel better. You're going to feel more comfortable in your own skin. I mean, how great would that feel? Every single day, from start to finish, you feel comfortable in your own skin because you are just beaming with confidence. That is a life that I want to lead. These 3 things I'm going to show you real quick. These are confidence accelerators, okay? The first one is risk. All right, taking risk boosts confidence. Now, risk is scary. Risk is uncomfortable. Everything within us doesn't want to take risk. But the more accustomed you get to taking risk, the quicker your confidence will grow. You know, when I was building out this framework that I'm sharing with you guys, I tested it out on my staff. And so in one of our meetings, we did a survey and we were talking about, you know, where are you confident? And one of the things I asked them after they listed a bunch of things that they were confident in, is I said, why are you confident in this area? How did you start building confidence in this area? And without a shadow of a doubt, every single one of them said, I took a chance. I had to risk something. I was scared to do this, but I tried to do it and it turned out to be not so bad. Or I tried to do this and it was terrible, but I wanted it bad enough that I tried again. Taking risks, the faster that you take calculated risks, the more quickly your confidence will grow. Our second confidence accelerator is humility, okay? When people are prideful and arrogant, they give off the wrong kind of confidence. It actually repels people instead of drawing them in. So humility allows us to have a confidence that is stable. A confidence that is secure, not a confidence that says I'm better than you or I have everything figured out, but a confidence that says I'm secure within myself and I'm here for you. I'm open for business. There's this incredible relational component that comes to our confidence when we have humility. And I'm telling you, if you make it a daily practice to pray for humility and to work and operate in humility, you will see your confidence skyrocket. And the last thing is, I call it selective silence. Okay, selective silence is going to accelerate your confidence. This is what we were talking about earlier, where you're being very careful about who you share your dreams and your accomplishments with. We want to be protective of that so that we're only letting voices in that are helpful. We're only acknowledging things as accomplishments in the light of people like obviously ourselves who say that is an accomplishment, but also people who have what we want. We want to be really careful that we are manicuring the inputs into our mind and our hearts, because if we don't, our confidence is going to go up and down. It's going to fluctuate, it's going to be very hit or miss, and it's not going to have any longevity to it. And that's kind of a miserable place to be. Now, to tie this all together, okay, the thing that really helped Sean the most in his journey was doing the inner child work. It was doing the deeper heart level work where he started to realize, man, I've come a long way. You know, he started to get affirmation from people that he respected. He started to quit pornography, and so his alignment became a lot stronger. And he has accomplished so many things because he took the pressure off. He celebrated who he was and who he had become to that point, and it has propelled him into greater growth and greater victory. Let me just give you some examples. He got married in 2016 to a beautiful girl. They have 2 beautiful daughters. They started a business together before Sean was the lead coach on my team. He owned his own coaching practice. He's a podcaster. I mean, Sean has really gotten his story out there, his voice out there. Any of you who are being coached by Sean, you know that he has a lot of confidence. He's not afraid to challenge people. He's not afraid to speak his mind. He does not back down from the truth. He is literally a new person because he did the work and he has found true confidence. And like we said at the beginning of this, true confidence comes from within, which is why you guys are poised to be the most confident you've ever been in your entire life, because you're going through a process that addresses the roots. And by addressing the roots that are within, confidence is going to be that natural byproduct that allows you to have all those opportunities and to step more into the things that God has called you to. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you really did enjoy this content, I know you're going to enjoy this video. Make sure you check it out. I'll see you in the next one.